Hello, y'all. This is Charlie Chaz from CGM3 Productions, and just stepping away from the normal life, the normal, the updates on the entry. Yes, I tell you that I have my 23rd round coming up later this week? That's fine. More or less, this is more a celebration, a review, a couple of good reviews, actually, to be honest, and a tribute. And, just amazing, and it's impacting this year because what a way to send off 58 years on this planet. As you may know, this week I turned 59 on March 3rd. Yep, 3-3. The power of three. Wow. And there's a lot of ways of, and a lot of points you could probably think of it. Being a teacher, being wise, being inspirational, being an artist, being, a passionate educator on air, and, the joys of it. And I'll tell you something, from where I was last year compared to this year, I feel free. I feel amazing, even though I got the 23rd round coming up. But in all sense, it's absolutely beautiful in life. And what a way to send it off. And in one way or another, it's just amazing. And just looking back on this, past year, a lot of recovery. I'm not going to go dwell into this. I think this is going to be another video. So it's going to be a bonus 55 coming up in probably a day or two. But I had to put some heavily thought on this. So, and make it happen tomorrow morning. So, but anyway, we're going to tell you what happened the last couple of days, which was completely amazing. As you may know, the blank dive. If you've seen it, thank you. Appreciate it. Great episodes. We were up to lucky number 7 last Thursday. And if you didn't see that video, or if you didn't see that podcast, where were you? What happened? Were you working? Were you, just doing life things? But you know what? It's on there. Don't worry. Look up the blank dive, episode 7, with Legacy, with 3 awesome, co-hosts, Charles, Benny, and the Deacon himself, Daniel. And again, thank you guys for, having a great night, and just talking about Legacy. And again, Legacy are legends that leads into a tribute. And we're going to be filling that in as well, because there's one little thing I could tell you about that right now. And what I mean is someone very important that's been in the music industry for a very long time, singer, songwriter, an amazing individual. And I could tell you a story about that as well. His name is Neil Sedaka. And Neil passed away at the age of 86 last Friday. Yes. February 27th, Neil Sedaka passed away at the age of 86 through a health concern in Los Angeles. Now, here's a little fun fact. Do you realize Neil Sedaka is also a Sullivan County resident here he had property in the local area. And not only that, a very well-known entertainer, songwriter, artist. He did like a lot of different things. And I remember years ago, about a couple of decades ago, at the Villa Roma Resort and Conference Center, we usually hold these big send-offs, from New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. And, I worked with, again, many artists like Tony Orlando, which was a phenomenal thing. He brought his Branson show in. The Four Seasons, the Tokens, many, many other wonderful artists. But this gentleman very kind, very passionate, and he knew his stuff. And checking the writer, it was ironically because when I was I've been a stage manager, as you may know it, stage manager, and at that time, and I'm looking at the writer, I'm just shaking my head. It's like, how are we going to pull this off? I mean, he wants a specific thing. He wanted this specific piano to be very fine tuned, and is the sound going to be well in there? Well, sure enough, the sound, the acoustics in the nightclub, in the club forum, is unbelievable. It's beautiful. It's resonating. You got to hear the entire show, and he brought out he banged out the most of the hits. Breaking Up Is Hard to Do, Calendar Girl. My favorite is Bad Blood, and he with the keyboard, and just resonated. And then obviously he also sang it, but he also wrote it, and Captain Tennille did a cover of it as well, with Love Will Keep Us Together. So I'm like, it was just a amazing night, and I was grateful to be a part of it, and I was honored as a stage manager at the Villa Roma. So it was one of those major top acts that kind of really struck out and made it happen. So in that piece, you see, that's, like I said, that's a legacy that's truly legendary, and it's a tribute. And that's what the Blank Dive did the other night on episode 7. And we brought out some, important things. How do you want to be remembered? And really, how do you want to be remembered? It could be a piece of art. It could be literature. It could be music. It could be a couple jokes here and there. It could be a great comedian. It could be a movie in which I expanded into that realm. As like I said, I've been in the entertainment business for a long time now, more like a consultant, behind the scenes, doing a lot, point of view, and some cameo work on the air, which is great, which is fantastic, and meeting seeing my radio brothers and sisters like Captain Eddie, the legendary Steve Lavelle. Yes, Steve. Hello. The Tig Man on PDH. By the way, the birthday month is going to be pretty well, because obviously 3/3, I had to highlight it. A lot of events are coming up, including 2 amazing concerts, which I can't wait to see in the middle of March. So yeah, that's a big present for me, and I get to enjoy the time at the one of the best grounds and one of the best areas to go see a concert, especially during the summer, but basically in the winter as well, at the Bethel Woods Performing Arts Center, or also known as Woodstock. Now, I'm only minutes away from there, and it's like, I'm ecstatic. Again, I always love going to the museum. I always love to feel the aura back in the day, and just, it resonates. And that's how a true passionate entertainer, and being a Pisces, that's basically with the arts, music, being intuitive, being that intuition, and just appreciating the appreciation of the arts. And speaking of which, did you realize that this March is Music in Their Schools Month, besides Women History? So thank you to the women that made it so, that worked so hard. So I applaud you guys every day, whether it's our grandmothers, our matriarchs, our best friends that are out there working hard and doing items that is very well reflective. And Women History Month is very, 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 very core to me, and I admire that. And there's a lot of them that are my heroes, and a lot of them that they inspire me. So that's one thing. To Music in Our Schools Month. Now, as you may know, I have one amazing mentor. His name is Mr. Larry Balestra, formerly of Tri Valley Central School and formerly of Roundup Valley. And he really taught me how the heart and soul of everything. And I played percussion, a percussionist in a high school band. Actually, it's not a high school band. It's basically a high school orchestra. Whether, you're in woodwinds, the brass, percussion, keyboards, different angles. Whether on the strings, woodwind, and I said woodwinds before. It just means a lot, and it hands it, from generation to generation, legacy to legacy. So I applaud my mentor, Mr. Balestra, and I always thought about it. It's like, I just hope one of these days we could actually remember the movie Mr. Holland's Opus? Well, I was thinking about Mr. Balestra's Opus, or a very close friend of mine, and he does a podcast called The Steam Fund. His name is Gary Siegel. And I looked up to, as a colleague, as a musician, but he is a very well-rounded individual that teach the impact of students in a great school district, locally here. And now he's living life living life, doing a podcast here, doing this here, and how reflects in many different ways. So there's a huge, with it. So check out the Steam Fund as well, with Gary Siegel and, entourage of others. And yes, it's Music in Our Schools Month. It's NYSSMA season, which is very, very important to the high school student, very important to the community, because there's a big celebration, whether it's all county chorus, all county band, and then they go up to, certain places up, like either from New York City to Syracuse, and they actually perform in this big, amazing event. And it's just sweet, because I remember years ago at WVOS off of Sullivan Avenue in Ferndale, we aired one of the concerts, the all county concert, the all county band, and all county chorus. And I felt so proud, because I got to listen to my mentor, Mr. Balestra, Gary Siegel, and mostly and everything else, and how that's an impact, because it's the passion of what we can play. It's the passion of a saxophone, the passion of the piano. It's the passion of being on percussion, whether it's snare drum, bass drum, triangle, woodwinds, or even the cowbell. There's always that running joke of more cowbell. Go figure. Got to watch Saturday Night Live for that. That's a classic bit for that. But it was absolutely amazing. It was absolutely, doing these type of events, doing these type of concerts, doing this type of, the appreciation and the value and the validness of music. And I got to throw out a shout out too, by the way. I keep forgetting every time, because she's also a cancer warrior herself, cancer survivor, Lori James. And Lori, thank you for the support. We worked all these years together, and hearing your voice, hearing your beautiful, your voice, your singing, your articulation, and comes from the diaphragm, always come from the diaphragm. Whether, if I didn't have my mic or anything else, it'll all come from the diaphragm, and, it's projection. So, which is leading to this one, because this past weekend, I went to see my alma mater at Tri Valley Central School, and this is our very first one. And obviously, I say, hello, beautiful. Look at the bear, look at everything, while they're playing, practicing for Bear Cup down there. um, there was something going on up in, up in the high school. And I always wanted to go see this because, obviously Tri Valley grew, Tri Valley expanded, it improved in many different ways. And by the way, they get to see a lot of good friends of mine, um, a lot of alumnuses, and people that I either worked with or went to school with, and just sat back and just enjoyed this year's theater club. And yes, it was, it's not like, fall and spring. It's not the fall and winter thing. It's not a fall and spring thing. It's basically from the theater club. And I applaud you guys. Mrs. Hartman, wonderful. The entire cast and crew, they did this program. They did the Broadway show, the student musical called Newsies. Yes, Newsies. And fun fact, these kids are very, very talented. And let me tell you, by talented, it's because they go to camp every year. They go to the Forestburg Playhouse every year. They even go to Stage Door Manor to improvise with it. And then obviously, in which again, back at the Villa Roma days, which I look every year to look forward to doing this during the winter. NYSSMA, which is the New York State Theater Educators Association. It's a huge weekend for the kids, the teachers, everything else. They give you projects here, projects there, come up with a great show, and it comes out on Sunday. So that impact, and just realizing it brings it all home, and it did bring it on home, and then you could hear the impact of the kids, their passion for the plays, their passion for the musical, whether it's a regular drama or comedy or musical. And Newsies, absolutely phenomenal. Now, let me tell you something. About a little over 40 years ago, we were in the drama club, or at that time was the drama club, and few recognizable people that were a part of, made a huge impact to my life. Mrs. Elberth, it definitely was the director in one of the plays back in 1983, if I remember, or 84, 83, if I remember correctly. They did the student-run version of MASH, and it was absolutely amazing. And then in my yearbook, which I have to, get very soon, she goes, "Hooray for the curtain puller." So that's where I started with the stage group behind the scenes, and made it absolutely a magical time. And this was in the old gymatorium, and just stopping back and brought so much memories in that place. But lo and behold, years later, and I'll get bringing this up to Newsies because this is kind of lit, in that same gymatorium back in 1984, the fall of 1984, or it was 1985, spring of it, 40 years late, again, 40 years, we did a play, we did a musical called, and it was from Irving Berlin himself, called Annie, Get Your Gun. And what it was a magical point. It was a magical time from it. And I have to thank the legendary, and then, which I miss her so much, Isabel Bernstein. And she directed that play with full of passion and with the small class size that we had to do. And in loving memory of Leslie Schofield Wood, the entire cast and crew. I mean, I played in different parts that I played too. Yep, fun fact. I even, like I said, I was in the main part of it as Foster Wilson, the hotel proprietor. And this is where I came from with voice and diction. It always came from the diaphragm, because you're in that gymatorium. You want to make sure your voice projected from the stage all all the way back to the gym where you could actually see the spotlight up in the, up in the, upper on the upper part of the high school. And sure, they had, I think they had mics back then, but it was too close to call. But from the makeup work, the makeup crew, the behind the scenes with costumes, Missy Casa Odell, thank you, and I really appreciate her passion with it. And this is how we, thespians, as they call it, the theatrics of it, is always embedded in that. And it was the one thing, it was absolutely phenomenal. And both, Isabel and Missy thanked us for the men that came, or for the young men that came out to do the play, because really everybody's doing their little thing here. It could be basketball, it could be, you know, basketball, it could be track, it could be something else. But it took a little part, and I was like, you know what? That's a passion for me. And I'm like, I looked at it. Now, keep in mind, I was a student class officer. Okay, that's another time, but it was very interesting. Now, in the spring of 1986, and I still have that copy to this day. It's funny. We were supposed to do a comedy. Yes, a comedy called The Beverly Hillbillies. However, there was a issue for commitment. So I was kind of bumming out and whatnot. And I said, well, they gave it a good shot. We all gave it a good shot. So now years later, the theater department, the drama club became the theater part of it, and it evolved to something else to this day. And I had a blast this entire weekend. I went to see the show twice. And the reason being is because I fell in love with the auditorium. I fell in love with the theater, Bernstein Theater. And it was absolutely heaven in that theater. Comfortable seating. They had everything, planned out. And it was just a beautiful vision. It was a visual visionary thing. Got to see the pit band, got to see the pit crew, and then everything happened on stage, and bam, they did it. And the kids, again, I applaud you guys. Great job. Congratulations on an amazing, amazing spectacle. It's spectacular, and being around my peers, being around my, the alumni. And yes, I did even throw a little donation to the, it's called now, I forgot what the word, but it was basically more through the theater club. And it was absolutely amazing what they did. And just, it was absolutely fantastic. It was excellent. So thank you guys. Thank you for, an amazing weekend. I saw, like I said, I saw the Friday night one, and then I saw the Sunday matinee, in which I got to see a little bit more of my, my kids, some teachers, and actually my kids that became teachers or coaches, or, and just seeing the younger generation looking up to it. And I'm like, it warmed my heart. It made my heart smile. And it was absolutely amazing. So congratulations to the amazing cast and crew over at Tri-Valley Central School in performing of Newsies. So excellent done. Now, if I could find the playbill, I'm going to show you between what we had there and had now, because I have 2 copies of that playbill somewhere in my boxes, but I think that's in another one. So I'm going to be doing something a little later on a post on Facebook or on a social media platform. But yeah, you're going to see the huge difference of what it was back then, and here's it till now. So it was absolute thing. Now, the other thing, obviously, March 3rd is my birthday, and one of my best friends. He's really, truly one of my best friends. Jerry, you're more of a best friend. You're more like you are more a brother to me. Like a really one of those older brothers by 1 year, which I don't have. Now, Pat Still is definitely another one. Pat Still is one of, another older brother that I never got to have. So, and this is how we we work tight very quickly. By the way, Pat's working, Pat's over at the West Coast right now over KNCI in Sacramento. Yet this kind of card kind of really, represents. It says, old friends are like old recliners. Okay. See how did you? Excuse me. But if you see this is kind of funny. And I just thought about it. And it says here, and besides, I didn't mean to cover my face, but we're comfortable, a little worn, and we go way back. And wish me a happy birthday. So, Jerry, this is an amazing card. I love it. I love this. And if you know what I mean, it just brought the laughter, especially when you go through a chemo session or just that life-threatening issue, that you need to laugh. You need to have that spontaneity with it. And it just makes it so happen for the 23rd round coming up later on this week. But just an amazing first week so far. And I can't wait to really enjoy March this way right now. Because right now, it may be cold and sunny, blue skies right now. Although winter precip tomorrow, I'm not looking forward to. I'm kind of gloomy about that. Yet, we're going to have a good time. Oh, more importantly, as I said, if you caught my other entry, recently, just this morning, just a few minutes ago, is one of my best friends is actually having an anniversary, and it's very heartful. Kelly, this one's for you, honey. I can't wait to celebrate it with you this weekend, because really, she's truly one of my other heroes. She's a warrior, survivor, and has a very healthy outlook on life like I do. So on that case, I'm going to say my farewells for now. And again, why don't I just do this soon? Always raising the bar. We persevere through life. And really, truly, my other favorite saying, that brings it into an accord. A legacy is the legend that we made very valuable tributes for. That's the main thing on this. And I think that's really something to think about. And persevere every time. Make it happen. Get better. And just have that brighter end of it, with it too. So, by the way, episode 8, this Thursday, 7 p.m. for the Blank Dive, called Hats. I got many hats, but it could be a baseball hat, could be a helmet, could be whatever, but it's the impact of something more than that. So check that out this Thursday night at the Blank Dive with Charles, Benny, and the Deacon, Danny. So check it out. And again, my other favorite saying, actually 2 sayings right now, raising the bar, and it's win. So I'm going to leave for now. Hopefully you'll be hearing some reviews coming up this weekend. And again, have a great week. Have an amazing day. Bless you. Be out there. Be safe with peace, love, friendship, prosperity, perseverance, and waiting for that warmer weather. Let me tell you, this is Charles, Chuck, Charlie, Chaz of CGM3 Productions. We'll see you soon.